When most people imagine Vikings, they picture longships, axes, and fierce bearded men. But buried deep in the sagas is a different story. A tale of courage, strategy, and grace. This is not a story of a warrior with a sword, but a queen with a plan. Aud the Deep-Minded, also known as Aud the Deep-Minded, was no ordinary woman. In a world ruled by brutal ambition, she ruled by wisdom. A noblewoman of Norway, a queen in Dublin, a refugee in Scotland, a ship captain, a landowner, a Christian in a pagan world. In a single lifetime, she would lose everything, and then create everything again. This is the true story of the woman who defied death, crossed the ocean, freed her slaves, and helped lay the foundation of one of the most unique societies the world has ever known, Iceland. Aud was born in the 9th century Norway, a land of thunder gods and blood feuds. She was the second daughter of Ketil Flatnose, a powerful Herseer, a local military lord, whose name appears across several sagas and chronicles. Her mother, Ingvid, was the daughter of another Herseer, Ketil Weather of Ringerike. This lineage placed Aud firmly in the Norse aristocracy. She wasn't merely a noblewoman, she was descended from a warrior caste that shaped the turbulent age of Viking expansion. In her youth, Aud would have lived in longhouses where sagas were sung by the fire and young girls learned to manage both household and hall. But the Viking world wasn't static. Men left for raids, women defended the home, sons were raised for glory, daughters were prepared for alliance. Aud was both well-bred and well-read in the customs of her time. Her future was not hers to decide, but she would shape it all the same. Aud married Olaf the White, a Norse Gael warlord who had carved out a kingdom in Ireland. Olaf, the son of King Ingjald, declared himself King of Dublin after a successful campaign through the Irish Sea and into the Shire of Dublin. This was no minor lordship. Olaf's realm was part of the larger Norse-Gael dynamic that blended Norse traditions with Celtic customs. Dublin became a thriving Viking city, its wooden walls bustling with trade, poetry, and blood. Aud joined Olaf in this wild new world, far from the snows of Norway. She became Queen of Dublin, presiding over a hybrid court of Norsemen and Irish allies. Together they had a son, Thorstein the Red, destined for greatness. But greatness, in the Viking age, was always hunted by death. After Olaf's death, slain in battle, or perhaps vanished returning to Norway, Aud fled with her son to the Hebrides, a windswept archipelago off the coast of Scotland. Here, Thorstein came of age. He married into local nobility and soon launched his own campaign of conquest. With Norse tactics and local alliances, Thorstein conquered much of northern Scotland, becoming a semi-legendary ruler. Aud, now a matriarch, watched her son rise, but she also saw what he could not. Power breeds envy, and Thorstein, despite his victories, was betrayed by the very people he ruled. He was ambushed, cornered, and killed. Aud received the news while in Caithness. She had lost her husband, her court, her son. All she had left were grandchildren, and her mind. That would be enough. Aud didn't grieve. She acted. In secret, in the deep forests of northern Scotland, she commissioned a ship, not a warship, but a nar, a wide-bellied, ocean-ready cargo vessel. It was meant for migration, not battle. Why the secrecy? Some say she feared retaliation. Others believe she wished to avoid the politics of war-torn Hebrides. Most likely, Aud knew that power must sometimes move in silence. When the ship was finished, she gathered her kin, 20 loyal men, her grandchildren, and her thralls, slaves taken in past raids. She captained the ship herself, and she set her course, westward, beyond the edge of what most considered the world. Aud's journey west was calculated and strategic. Her first stop was the Orkney Islands, a Norse stronghold. There she married off her granddaughter Groa to secure an alliance. Then onward to the Faroes, where Olaf, another granddaughter, was married. Each stop was part of Aud's design. Like a general planting flags, she ensured her bloodline would flourish across the Norse world. She was not fleeing, she was founding. At last, Aud reached Breiðafjörður in western Iceland, a vast, dramatic bay of fjords and volcanic plains. She claimed land between the rivers Dögördara and Skrá in what is now Dalasísla. Her settlement, Hvamur í Dölum. Here, Aud did something revolutionary. She freed her slaves, making them freemen, and granted them land. One such man, Vífil, was given the valley of Vífilsdal. She also divided land among her crew. Each received a chance to thrive. She wasn't just settling, she was building a just society. In a brutal world, Aud offered freedom, stability, and legacy. Aud was a Christian, rare in her time. She didn't preach or fight, but she lived her faith. She erected wooden crosses on a ridge above her home, known as Krosshola. There she would go to pray, seeking solitude and the presence of God. Her faith was quiet but profound, woven into the rhythm of her leadership. In a land dominated by Thor and Odin, Aud's cross stood firm. Iceland would later become a Christian nation, but Aud had brought its first quiet embers. Aud's final act was her own funeral. According to Landnámabók, she hosted a feast, announced it would be her last, and died on the third night. She asked that the feast continue for 3 more days as her wake. Without a consecrated cemetery, she was buried in the tidal zone, between land and sea. She died as she lived, between worlds. According to Laxdæla Saga, she was given a ship burial, placed in her gnar with goods and honour. Either way, her death was a ceremony, a final command from a woman who had led from beginning to end. Aud's story didn't end with her burial. She became the founding matriarch of several noble Icelandic families, most notably the Sturlungs. Her land, Hvamur, became a hub of culture, power, and lore. She inspired saga poems, prayers, and legends. In 1965, a memorial cross was raised at Krossholaborg in her honour. She remains a symbol of independence, courage, and wisdom. And today, she reminds us that Viking history was never just about conquest. It was about resilience, strategy, and vision. Aud the Deep-Minded wasn't just a settler. She was a queen, a captain, a founder, a Viking unlike any other.